This is the PR Podcast, a show about how public relations helps you tell your story to the world. We talk with great PR practitioners who have the skills, creativity, and just plain savvy to get their clients noticed. Now here's your host, Jody Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the PR Podcast. I'm Jody Fisher. Thanks for joining us. Well, don't forget to tune in to my Instagram Live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Now, I know it's in the middle of the day, but take your coffee break at 2 p.m. Eastern on every Thursday. It's a 15-minute check-in, right? We just say hi. We talk about things that are going on in PR. Maybe there's something breaking that we can talk about. I want to hear from you on what's going on in your world. We play our little game called Why Is That News, which is where I grab a story out of my local newspaper and I try to dissect it and figure out why it landed in the paper or on TV the way it did. And that door is open to you as well. If you have an idea for a Why Is That News segment, send me an article, maybe one that you've placed, or maybe just one that caught your eye, that sort of makes you go, how did that get there? Anyway, Instagram Live every Thursday, 2 p.m. Check that out. That's on my personal handle at Jody Fisher on Instagram. Now let's get on with our show for today. We got another great guest. Candice D'Angelo is a philanthropist and the founder of The Agency East, a boutique public relations agency on a mission to support female entrepreneurs building their personal and professional brands. Her passion for helping others amplify their visibility started in high school, where she was the editor of her yearbook. Me too. Fast forward to college, she landed a job with an advertising agency before she even graduated and rose from intern to account manager, where she wrote ad placements for big names like Visit Florida and pitched agencies such as the Department of Transportation. She's been seen in Business Insider, Forbes, USA Today, and she's landed clients in a variety of national media. Candice, welcome to the PR Podcast.
Wow, thank you. Did you do that in one breath?
I try. I'm pulling on the radio training there.
I love that.
Well, let's go back. All right. So you and I didn't know that you and I share that. We were the editor of our high school yearbook, right? Wasn't that fun? Was that fun?
That was fun. It was a little intimidating at first semester, but you get the hang of it after a while. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And that's where you caught the bug. Tell us about that. How does that get you into, I want to be a storyteller?
That's actually a really great question because at the time I didn't know that, but I was following this invisible path and I was a journalism major starting out and I realized I can't make any money as a journalist. Like journalism doesn't have any money back then. I didn't want to write for the paper, so I just switched gears really quickly, but I always had this storytelling bug, amplifying others, putting others on a platform. So that's been there since 1997.
Love that. Love that. And also, like me, got yourself a job right before you graduated college, walked right into the working world. I recall for me, and I want to hear your reflections on your experience. For me, that felt really good because I was working at the college radio station, for 4 years straight, honing my chops, so to speak, and walked right into that job. Did you have a similar experience?
I did. I needed an internship and they were offering the internship and it was a really great agency. They had two people and I was a non-paid intern and then they hired me and they had accounts like Visit Florida and Department of Transportation. And so I was really able to like start working before even graduating, which I want to highly recommend to a lot of students out there.
The intern part, right?
Yeah, definitely getting that experience because you don't know if this is actually what you want to do. We've had some interns come through our agency who are like, actually, I don't want to do this. I am not really great at this. And, they learn the path before they graduate. And what a gift to learn that before you graduate so you can pivot if you need to.
Well, I was going to say, an internship sure is meant to be a path possibly towards a job, right? Or a foot in the door at a particular agency, but it's just as valuable if you do it and you realize you're not liking it, right?
Yes, that happened once, which I still was so grateful to be able to provide that opportunity for them to see that this was not the path that they wanted to take.
So great. And what's it like working with, we're going to get to you, but what's it like working with those young people who are on that path of themselves? Do you see yourself in them?
Yes, that's why we have such a big student internship program is because that's how I got started. I got started as a student intern and I want to pay it back. And that's really the experience we give them is a sink or swim internship. It's here you go, because you have to have that tenacity in this field because you get rejected a lot. So you really have to like have that sink or swim, outside the box thinking, on your toes thinking to really get the yes that you need to get. So it's been a great experience.
And let's drill down on that giving back aspect of what you just talked about, because I know that that's really important to you. It's kind of baked into your DNA, that giving back, that helping amplify other people and their story, help them tell the good work about the good works that they're doing. Why is that so important to you?
I am not somebody that likes to be seen. So I want to be able to prop other people up because of the chances that I've been given, even in my careers. If it weren't for the people that had given me the chances, I would not have been successful. So I'm not blind to that. I'm not selfish to that. I believe that it's my turn to give back. And if I could somewhere in 10 years from now still be remembered as the person that gave them the chance, that's then my job is done. I've done my job very well.
That's great. Yeah, and you never know who you're impacting, right? As you walk that path.
I will tell you that has happened more often than not, where people 4 or 5 years later will come back to me and say, "Hey, listen, I know you haven't heard from me in 5 years, but I just want to let you know that I'm getting my PhD now." And this is from somebody who I mentored in high school who was having trouble in their life, and now they're getting their PhD. So just the little things, just pay it forward and just be present with other people and not think about yourself.
That is really a hit in the head when I've had that happen to me a couple of times too. And like you have no idea the impact
Yeah.
that you've had in that moment. And then, suddenly this person who's wildly successful or who's doing something like that, they're like, yeah, and you had something to do with it. I'm like, really?
I know, I know. It's actually really that I like I said, I could be done with my career. That then I've done my job very well.
That's awesome. Well, let's pivot to what you do with your clients. And you do a lot of personal brand building. You
Yes.
work with a variety of different businesses. Give us a sort of a lay of the land of what you do at your agency.
Sure. So we work with women entrepreneurs and we help them amplify their personal brand. We believe that your professional brand is really nothing without your personal brand. And most people want to talk about their success as a business. And I think that's great. But what people really want to know about are the struggles that you face getting to this part, because that's the relatable part. And once we talk about that and pull that out of our clients, we have a whole other set of stories that get featured besides the expertise. So realistically, you're nothing without your personal brand. So we want to make sure that we merge those two together.
How do you manage to do that, merging that personal brand, professional brand?
Yeah, I love that question because you do have to have a nice mix of both. So, depending on the channel and depending on what your journalist is asking for, what your contact's asking for, we try to do a mix of both. So, when we have our clients come on and we do our kickoff call, we really talk about, okay, what are your successes been in your business? What are your financial milestones? But also, are you vulnerable in talking about your personal story? What have your struggles been? Have you stayed up late at night? Or did you go through a divorce? Did you lose a family member? How did you get through that? Because those are things that happen in life that you can't expect and you can't plan for. So how can we help others on that journey? Sometimes it's, hey, I was a janitor at the same company that I own now that's making 7 figures. And that's a real client story. That's the story that we're putting out there. That's the story that people want to read. So we do both. We pitch both personal and professional stories.
And it's so interesting in my experience, and I want to hear about yours, going to those personal stories where a client will sit in front of you and sometimes they'll say, well, I really don't want to talk about that. And they'll give decent
Mhm,
reasons for it. But
mhm,
you look across the table and you say, but that's what made you who you are.
mhm,
That
mhm.
you can't take that, you can't strip that out of your story. It's part of your.
Right. Yeah, we've had a couple come through, not many. And then what we do with those, we kind of work with a speaker coach to help them develop that story. We have a couple speaker coaches that we refer out to because that is just really not my strength, my zone of genius, but I want to help that person develop that. And there are just some tactics that I don't know how to do that. So we would definitely refer out for that. But there have been cases where they want to keep it strictly business. And at that point, you have to set the expectation very realistically. Like that kind of cuts about 50% of the opportunities down because what people are struggling right now mentally, and they really want to be able to relate to people. And so that story is a relatable story. If people keep putting out stories about, oh, my business makes this, oh, my business does that, it's not always achievable for everybody. But the fact that you overcame something personal in your life is very relatable, and it really helps them see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's really important to have a personal story.
And you and I both know that people buy or do business from with people, from with people, not with businesses, right? We don't
Correct.
gravitate towards a business necessarily. We gravitate towards a business because, okay, maybe they can fix something, but we sign on the line because of the person who's across the table.
100%. And that's also a kind of a piece of the story that we weave in is what you do and the services that you offer, you're not here for that. Like PR, that's not where PR lives. If they like you, know you, and trust you, which is our job, we fast track your know, like, and trust factor. If we can get that part going, they're just naturally going to look at your services and what you have to offer and see if that's something that they need. So we kind of like put that on the back end. We do the reverse.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Is there, I'm not asking you to drop names here, client names at all, but
Okay.
is there for instance, story you can tell about that where you brought someone from a, I don't want to share my personal story into a, wow, this just
Yeah.
turbocharges it and makes it click?
Yes, absolutely. So we had a lawyer, and she's a litigator. So it's very, and for very big companies, and I'll throw one out there, Google. So a litigator, and that was one of the cases. So you have to be very careful with some of the things that they say, what they can't say, right? So you understand that. But what we didn't know and what we had to pull out was she's first generation Latina in her family. Her parents were immigrants. And so coming up in a family like that, where you lived with your family for a really long time, and this is what you were supposed to do, right? Like this is the path you're supposed to follow. But she did not do that. She took a different path, went against the grain, made her own path. That in and of itself, especially living in South Florida, is a really big motivational story, a very inspirational story. So that's the story that we led with.
I love that. Yeah, those are the ones that stick with people,
Yes.
and potentially really resonate with the right audiences, right?
Very much so. And that's how, maybe mentorship, maybe there's a mentorship that you can offer them. Maybe it's a, hey, are you hiring at your practice, your firm? Or can you come speak at our conference? I heard you on this podcast. Can you come speak on our conference? I think you can really inspire some in our audience. So it works out. It shakes out in the best way possible. Some ways and you just didn't know that were going to happen.
The catch 22 to our success here with building these people up is sometimes they become, I don't want to say targets, but sometimes
Mm,
they run into crisis, right? Sometimes they
yes.
run into negativity,
Mhm.
whether it's external or maybe they just stub their toe on something, right?
Right.
Um, Talk about how you manage those people who are maybe you get to a place where they're flying high and maybe they hit a speed bump.
Correct. And that's going to happen. Personal brands cannot, they're not immune to a personal brand crisis. It looks different than like Exxon spilling gas in the ocean. That looks different. Your every word is being hung on by people who fully trust you and believe in you. So if there's a bad review, or if you say something against the grain that you feel very strongly about, you are going to upset the herd. You are going to upset people, and you have to be prepared for that. There are many platforms out there that they can go and do that anonymously on, and you have to monitor that. You have to be prepared to go. Your brand, if your personal brand, are far more susceptible to a crisis than a big corporate organization. They can actually kind of ignore it if there's different levels, right? There's like a red light crisis, green light crisis, yellow light crisis, and corporations have those levels. Personal brands do not have those levels. And you have to really understand that and wrap your head around that and be prepared, because you are not immune.
Yeah, that is a great point. The difference between the big corporation and the personal brand. How do you counsel people through that on how
Yeah.
they respond, what they
Mhm.
say, how they think about it? I mean, you can internalize that and lose a lot of sleep.
Oh, they do. They lose a lot of sleep. And so we have to look at, and this has been happened a couple of times. I never make a move on the first one unless the first one is catastrophic, right? I don't make a move on that, especially, and I look at the platform too. So if it's Reddit, you really got to just monitor that. If it's your Google reviews, you got to respond right away. So it depends on the platform. But if you start to see wildfire, like fire catching on different platforms, you have to respond. And we never come from a place of, well, I told you to tell me if there's something wrong, or like, we never come from a place of that. We just say, we're very sorry for your experience. Please email us at X, Y, and Z. Like, it just depends on what it is, but not every problem is one you should respond to. But if it starts to catch like wildfire, you have to be prepared to respond.
Yeah, great point. And in the differentiation of, how you respond and even what platforms you're on. But so, I mean, some platforms are just built for rage engagement, right?
I love that. Can I use that?
Oh, you go right ahead. I stole it from somebody else. I forget who, but
Rage engagement. I
it's the
love that.
truth, right? You're
Yeah.
on Twitter. Sorry, not calling it X, but if you're on Twitter, especially with its current owner, is just
Yes.
built to piss people off. That's all it's
Yes.
about.
Yes. 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 If you have a private Facebook group, you might want to nip that in the bud right away. If it's Reddit, like I said, like I will say that's a rage engagement platform. Nobody goes on an anonymous platform to say nice things. It's just not that. But I will tell you, if you have like if you have people in your group, let's say you're a business coach, let's just say you're a business coach and you have a coaching program, you have loyal people. You have people that are going to ride and die for you. And that's why Taylor Swift is like untouchable. She's got people who will ride or die for her. And you have to develop that, put them in a bucket, get them ready to go. In the event that something like this happens, you can also reach out to them and say, hey, this is happening. You don't have to do this. But if you still feel like you're loyal to this brand, here's a link. If you don't mind just kind of giving your advice, keep it to this, give them the parameters. You have people that are loyal to your brand. They should be willing to do that for you.
Yeah, and those platforms too, I think I got to phrase this the right way, but kind of seduce us into a back and forth, which is probably the worst thing you can do with someone who is either a troll
Mhm.
or just trying to, make some kind of ridiculous demand like I did this happen and I want my money back, stomp
Yeah.
their feet kind of
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
right? I mean, how do
Yeah.
you treat that? How do you deal with those people?
Yeah. So again, the same comment goes, we're sorry for your experience. Here's my personal email. If you are a personal brand, give them your personal email address. Don't give them some support email. Don't give them give them your personal email address. That's one thing. Two, if you use Ring Central instead of your phone number, or Google phone instead of your real phone number, give them that number. Let them talk to you. A lot of the times people want to piggyback, like you said, right? Some people just want to get in the mix. They want the algorithm to fangirl them. They want the algorithm to point in their direction, so they'll post as well. And so you have to really minimize that with a really good statement of, here's my phone number, give me a call. If you say to people, here's my phone number, give me a call, I want to fix this, just it's that simple. Don't give them 6 paragraphs of like what you believe in and all that. That's just gaslighting people. Give them your phone number, tell them to give you a call that you want to fix this. Sorry for your experience.
That's probably going to flush out the trolls too a little bit too, right? Because people who are being
100%.
trolly are not going to call you, but someone who's got a
No.
legit problem is
Yep.
going to ring you up.
Yep. And how harmful is it if you just get on the phone with somebody? And if you
Now,
fix the
go ahead.
problem, sorry, if you fix the problem, you can ask them to go back on there and say, hey, we spoke. She was able to fix this problem. It was a problem for me. It's no longer a problem for you. So there's got to be a little bit of give and take, right? Like, hopefully, if you fixed a problem right, they should be willing to do that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Do you either go back and close the loop in the public domain or
Mm.
ask them to do that? And the answer is obviously yes.
Yeah. If they're not willing to go in and actually type up something like, hey, they fixed a problem, ask them to go in and delete the comment.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's pivot a little bit because you have some other things that you're really, really good at.
Yeah.
We wanted to talk about here, including sort of a DIY approach to promoting yourself. You work with a lot of clients that are getting started.
Yes.
Um, and maybe there are other clients who are not even ready to be getting started, right? With someone like you or me.
Mhm.
But they still have this need, right, to do something. And let's talk a little bit about, how they can do that, whether that's owned media, whether that's paid media,
Mhm.
sort of the DIY approach to beginning to promote yourself. Do you have
Yeah.
some advice?
I do. I've got a couple of things. One, there are some of your bigger opportunities, they're pay to plays. You can pay. I'm sure anybody listening here has gotten that email or that message on Instagram. Hey, it costs this much money and you'll get syndicated. It's probably a press release that gets syndicated, but listen, press is press for you at this point. You have your voyage. Each city has like your voyage, Miami, your voyage, Colorado, depending on what it is. Don't highly recommend those. They're nominated, they're nomination basis. But if you're doing this yourself, you can also subscribe to Peter Shankman's Hero, that's now Hero SOS. So you can subscribe to that. There's the journalist emails right in there. And if it's something that you're an expert in or you want to talk about and it fits the description, that's my recommendation.
So is there a mix that we need to look at where we're talking about PR compared to paid advertising? Is one more valuable for a young company? I mean, me personally, I would be steering people towards things that cost the least in the beginning because you don't have that cash to spare. So PR in terms
Mhm.
of non-paid sources is probably better. Not bashing marketing, but like we said, marketing,
Right.
you can throw money down a black hole with that and not get any results.
Well, marketing and SEO falls under marketing, and really, like, it takes time and an investment of time and money to see the results of that. Whereas PR, and that's why we serve who we serve, and we've become an affordable PR agency for solo entrepreneurs, is because they deserve the same exact opportunities as a big corporation does. And so a couple of ways that they can do this is blogs. So being a guest writer on another platform's blogs is a really great way to do it. And if you go into their About Us section, there might be a how to write for us. There's opportunities for that. Also, like I said before, SOS, Peter Shankman's Hero, is a really great way to get some press, some do it yourself, but also, like, maybe there's some paid opportunities on there. There's some expensive ones that we've seen on some different platforms. I don't recommend paid ads only because it's a crapshoot. Like, marketing is very like instant, and then sometimes it can take a very long time. Whereas that marketing in itself will eventually go away, meaning you have to keep it up. There's a maintenance that has to happen to keep marketing working for you. PR, once you get placement, once you get a podcast interview, once you get a media feature, no one can ever take that away from you. That is yours forever. So that's why I think, like, PR, maybe it's my own bias, but I think PR is a much better way to go if you have limited funds to promote your business, get credibility and visibility.
I agree 100%. And I say the same stuff to people all the time. And it's true. I mean, that especially when you get earned media coverage, that stuff sticks.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And it's great. I love it. I love when a client gets a media win.
Well, we can see why you're so good at what you do, Candice. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for spending time with us here today.
Thank you.
We are not done with you yet, however. We're going to segue now into the rapid fire question portion of our podcast. This is where we steal a page from inside the actor's studio. We ask our guests a series of rapid fire questions meant to elicit a simple answer, maybe a laugh or two. With your indulgence, Candice D'Angelo, let's begin with rapid fire question number one. What's your favorite news source?
Oh, I have a lot, but I'm gonna go with, ooh, this is such a hard question. My favorite news source. I used to be a TMZ girl, but that stuff's garbage now. That stuff's garbage. I like Huffington Post. I like Well and Good. Um, I like the Every Girl. Those are your smaller, like, blog media outlets, but your larger, big outlets. I like Inc. I like to read the stories on Inc.com. The New York Times, I'm a fan of. So I would say those. It's more than one, but I gave you a good rendition.
Every PR person has multiple news sources. That's what we have to do, right?
Yes,
Rapid fire question number two. What's your favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Love it. Rapid fire question number three. Coffee or alcohol? Look at the pain
What?
on your face.
But wait, what time is it? I think it depends on what time it is.
Yeah,
Alcohol, alcohol, alcohol.
uh, Very good. We'll take that. Rapid fire question number 4. What's your favorite on the run food?
Oh, I try to be healthy, but it's really hard on the run. There's a place down here called Fresh Kitchen. It's broccoli, cauliflower rice, chicken. Like it's really good. It's very it's the healthier portion of on the run.
That's energy food. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree. And rapid fire question number 5. What do you want to be after you finish this career?
Retired?
Do we do that?
Yeah, I
Do
don't
PR?
think so. I don't think so, but I do want to be retired. We're setting it up now for a nice retirement. So my goal is to sell the agency. We've got a nice little membership going on right now that's turned out to grow like wildfire. So we're on the hunt for a retirement.
Sounds good. Well, you got to have a plan. You're going to get anywhere, you got to have a plan.
Yeah.
Candice, this has been a great conversation. Please let people know how they can find you online.
Yes, follow us on Instagram at the Agency East PR. We are happy to engage. We love engagement. We are a funny bunch of girls, and if you want to laugh, if you need to pick me up, definitely find us on Instagram.
All right, we'll do just that. Thanks again, Candice. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the show. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The PR Podcast. Send us a question or a comment. Our intro is by Christopher Apple. You can find him and his fantastic photography on Instagram at Christopher_APPOLDT. Check him out there and hire him for all your photography needs. You can find me online at Jody Fisher on all the socials and on the web at jodyfisherpr.com. We'll see you next time on the PR Podcast.